We're going to call these general sites. Like Reddit is a general purpose site. Wikipedia is a general purpose site. General sites are not being cited very often. It's like under 20%, 80% plus. For some clients, it's like 90% plus of the citations are industry specific publications that will never make it onto that list. So if you're selling IT security software or something very niche, Wikipedia is not going to be on there. It's going to be these really specific, like domain specific things.
If you're doing comparison shopping for Tesla versus other cars, the information is probably going to skew more towards Reddit or YouTube or Consumer Reports or some of these larger sites that have specific information about cars. But that doesn't mean that that's what you should do for your B2B business.
Okay, welcome to the Grow and Convert Marketing Show. If you like this, by the way, you can keep subscribing in a few ways on whatever podcast system you're using. We would love likes on YouTube or subscriptions, and comments or ratings on podcasts would help. Today, we're going to continue the last string of episodes on GEO and get even more into the tactical details to help you guys out. So we have talked about our overall GEO framework, Prioritize GEO. You can check out that episode. It's a few episodes before this. We have also gone through an example of implementing it using a company that we did a demo of our AI visibility tool Tracker and talked about the details of how to kind of implement this on a tactical level. What do you do? What content do you produce? And continuing on that, a part of what we talked about in Prioritize GEO and that was citation outreach, which is figuring out what sources LLMs are using in the topics that you care about, in the responses. The LLMs are citing these sources. What sources are they citing? And then we said, reach out to those sources. We do this for our clients. It's a service we offer. We call it citation outreach. We're partnering with another firm to do that kind of like link building, but it's like the AI equivalent. So today we want to talk about a study we just published that's super interesting about patterns in those sources that LLMs are citing. And so to sort of kick it off, I am going to share some examples here of LinkedIn posts and charts we've seen. And both of these kind of say the same thing, where it's like, where does AI get its info from? And they've listed the top 10 or 20 like domains that AI tends to cite. And everybody knows what the top one is going to be there. It's Reddit, followed by Wikipedia, followed by YouTube, Google, Yelp. Like both of these are very similar by two different sources. And our data that we're going to talk through today and in the accompanying article suggests that basing your GEO strategy on trying to get mentioned in these sources is a bad idea. And the reason is that when we look at the actual top source citation lists of the topics and prompts that matter to our clients that we are looking at and tracking via tracker.ai, we're going to call these general sites. Like Reddit is a general purpose site. Wikipedia is a general purpose site. General sites are not being cited very often. It's like under 20%, 80% plus. For some clients, it's like 90% plus of the citations are industry specific publications that will never make it onto that list. But for that client, it actually matters.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of share some thinking in terms of why like even the study doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think the study is largely just used for an infographic because it makes it look like this is the answer to everyone's problem. But if you just think about the way that the study is done, so it says based on 150,000 citations for 5,000 randomly selected keywords. Okay, so even if you crunch all that data, of course the largest sites that have like the most brand recognition are going to be the ones that are the top sources, because all the industry specific sites are not large enough to be shown across all these different 5,000 queries. So largely what I'm saying is this makes it seem like the largest sites influence LLMs more than other sites, but it's just because these sites are the most well known and get the most traffic, and that's why you don't see any smaller sites on here. It's all Reddit, Wikipedia, YouTube, Google, because yeah, those sites are just going to come across the data more often than not, and the industry specific sites for very specific queries are just not even going to be shown here because they don't get enough traffic.
Yeah,
So
and said another way, saying what you're saying in another way, your goal as a brand is not to show up on 5,000 randomly selected keywords. Your goal as a brand is to show up on the handful of keywords. Keywords is kind of SEO thinking. We call it in Grow and Convert topics, which are like groups of prompts that are related. That your goal is to show up on the topics that actually matter to your thing. And so if you're selling IT security software or something very niche, yeah, Wikipedia is not gonna be on there. It's gonna be these really specific, like domain specific things. So, and we're gonna get into the data here. Here's what we did. We looked at tracker data, tracker.ai, our visibility tool for 5 of our clients. It was, I think, 120 different prompts. And in Tracker, you can see, and I'll show screenshots in a bit, and our previous videos do, what are the most highly cited sources for each topic. And we looked at that carefully for all of these prompts. And basically, the long and short of it, the key data is 86% of these sites were what we are labeling industry and adjacent sites. That's what was cited. Only 14% were the Reddits and Wikipedias of the world, what we're calling general sites. And so, like, just pausing here, the actual data for our clients, 4 of the 5 of them are B2B, 1 of them is B2C, and this held for the B2C one as well. But for our actual clients, 86% were industry specific sites that you will never see on a list like this that you see in LinkedIn. Okay. And
yeah,
so
wait, go back. I have some more stuff to add. So yeah, in essence, what we're saying is it's actually the inverse of everything that you've been told. Number one. So you've been told go do this general PR on Reddit and go get on all these general sites. But from what we're actually seeing in the data when we're looking at topics, the industry specific ones are what's being pulled to give answers more than Reddit and YouTube. The other thing I don't like about these broad studies that are being shown on LinkedIn and like that infographic is a lot of the tools like Profound and Peak, when they're using examples, and I think this is the examples on their website or in some of the studies that they've shared on LinkedIn or on Twitter, they're often using brands like Tesla, like Samsung. They're consumer brands, and they're saying the data for Tesla is the same as what you should do for your B2B company, which just doesn't even make sense. Because think about it this way. If you're doing comparison shopping for Tesla versus other cars, the information is probably going to skew more towards Reddit or YouTube or Consumer Reports or some of these larger sites that have specific information about cars. But that doesn't mean that that's what you should do for your B2B business, because someone searching for best design software is probably not going to, like, the information is probably not going to come from Wikipedia and Reddit. It's going to come from design sites or other industry specific sites. And so, yeah, I think largely these studies are misleading because they're using brands that don't represent similar brands to your company. And they're using data that just isn't really relevant to your business either.
yeah, and we're going to get into it. We did, I actually should have shouted her out at the beginning. This study was done by Jessica, oh dear, do I even know how to pronounce her last name? Jessica Lakritz, at least that's how I say it.
Hopefully it's right.
I know, hopefully she like forgives me when she watches this. But Jessica and I did this, and we had a really good example that she has in there at the end that I'm going to go over, comparing this kind of citation stuff to Peloton, which is the equivalent, Benji, of what you just used, Tesla and Samsung as an example. This really like general purpose, everyone knows it, consumer facing brand to compare to see, is this like a B2B, B2C thing? But to cut to the chase, what I'm going to show is she had this really nice analysis where she was like, Davish, I don't think it's actual B2B versus B2C, because we have an example in here of an educational like training company, or actually it's a nonprofit. It's one of our clients, Climb Hire, that technically is consumer facing. That's their audience, but it's niche. So I'm going to mess up the wording, but in the article, she had a really nice phrasing where she says it's not really about consumer versus whatever. It's about how niche the brand is. And Tesla, Samsung, Peloton that we'll look at is so general that these general
Yeah,
sites
they're all
like,
household names.
yeah,
I think that's the difference. These are large enough brands where they're household names versus, and you would do research on,
you
yeah, you would
actually
do,
look on Reddit if you want to decide
yeah,
what exercise bike to get or what car to buy, right?
exactly.
Like you
But
look at
if
YouTube reviews or even look at this, like Amazon shows up on all of them. We all know what we go to Amazon for. It's like consumer products. And so that's what you cite when you do that. So we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's continue this example. So 86% of the sites are industry and adjacent. Here are a few examples. For this trucking company client of ours, Toro TMS, for some brands that really matter to them. You don't even have to know what these sites are. I don't know what these sites are, but let me read them off to you. The top cited domains for this topic that really matters in trucking software: amcsgroup.com. Do you have any idea what this is? Neither do I. Why? Because it's a trucking specific organization. Trans Virtual, Toro, our own clients. TT News is like trucking news. Dumptruckdispatcher.com. And we have some others, right? For like this project management client. The top brands cited in this was Reich.com, Productive.io, the digital project manager.com, Zapier, whatever. Then for this particular other software, like you can continue. So this is what we mean. So this is inside Tracker. Tracker, our tool, like lists the domains cited in the topics that matter. So that's like the key example there. So in here, what do you not see? Out of these three B2B, the top, 5 domains cited for 3 example topics of 3 B2B clients, you do not see Reddit, you do not see Wikipedia, you do not see YouTube or Amazon, because it doesn't make sense. So then here's the Peloton example. So we thought of this, Jessica and I did, as we were sort of working on this study, is we said, is it a B2B, B2C thing? And I said, you know what, let's just do something. And I forgot where. Someone had mentioned it on a podcast I was listening to, so I put Peloton in there. It has crazy brand visibility, as you said, household name, right? Anytime an exercise bike is mentioned, it's going to be mentioned. And the 2 topics, or the 5 topics I had, were all around exercise bikes. So as an example, I'm looking at 5 prompts under the topic umbrella of best exercise bike for home. Another one, virtual spinning classes online. Another one, home exercise bike with classes, like that. Okay. So then when we look at its top domain cited, what do we now see in contrast to the 3 B2B clients we had? So one of them is a random site, garagemyreviews.com, but then right under that, youtube.com, newyorktimes.com, Healthline, PC Mag, Target, Forbes, Walmart, Reddit, Dick's Sporting Goods. Just intuitively, as Benji was just saying, this makes sense. That's where you go if you want to research consumer products.
This is what bothers me, again, about a lot of the advice online, because people are using these household name examples as examples for what you should do. And so it's saying, go after these general sites, do these large scale PR campaigns, go get in the New York Times and PC Mag and all these sites. But it's just not true for most companies. Most companies are not these household names. And so when we look at the sources for a lot of our clients, it's just complete opposite of this.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. It's this other thing where the footnote of one of these graphs at the beginning said based on 150,000 citations, so 5,000 randomly selected keywords from the SEMrush database. When you select 5,000 random keywords from some SEO database, statistically, you're more likely to get consumer keywords. There are way more individuals, humans, searching things on anything, whether it be Google or ChatGPT, related to their personal individual search interests, right? Which is like consumer products, questions. Like, why is Wikipedia on there?
Well, also, what keywords you select really do matter. Like
Right.
that, like we shouldn't be doing randomly selected keywords.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is randomly selected keywords is going to bias to just like the things you Google day to day. Like what movie should I get? Like for example, I think Wikipedia is on here because like actually 5 down is like Mapbox and TripAdvisor. Why? Because when people are going on vacations or traveling somewhere, and then that one after Mapbox is OpenStreetMap. I actually don't use any of them, so maybe it's like
Never
in
even
other
heard of those
countries.
two. Yeah.
But like TripAdvisor, Mapbox, OpenStreetMap. Why? Because like a lot of the things you type into anything is like how to get somewhere, or like I'm going on a trip and how to get. That's what I mean. Is like when you randomly select keywords, by definition, there's more searches for consumer queries. There's just a lot more humans googling stuff for like their own personal life, not for trucking management software. It's so niche. But if your job is a marketer for a trucking management company, you don't care about these randomly selected keywords. And I was gonna say, I think Wikipedia is on here second because there's a huge number of searches that's people just trying to understand concepts. It's not business related at all. So like it doesn't matter. So though what you should do, the action is figure out the topics. And this is gonna, for those of you that have followed everything we've written recently or all the videos and podcasts we've produced on this channel, this is gonna sound redundant, but it's important, is what you should do is start by deciding your topics that matter in your AI visibility. And newsflash, it's going to map very carefully to a bottom of funnel very well to a bottom of funnel SEO strategy. In both SEO and GEO, what you should do is decide top down. These are the topics. In SEO, you would use the terms keywords, right? In GEO, we would say topics that a bunch of prompts would fall under that matter to our brand. We want to show up for this trucking management software, this and that, dispatch software, whatever. That's what matters. Then you decide what prompts are sort of related to that. Tracker does that automatically for you. Then you look up, okay, for these prompts on these topics that we have decided matter to us, that we want to show up for. When somebody types it into ChatGPT, this is what ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI overviews, what have you, are citing. So to continue Peloton, the final thing I'll say is we have this correlation to Google again. And I have 2 Google screenshots showing on the screen now. One is for best exercise for home. I scrolled down, you can Google it if you don't trust me. I scrolled down a couple positions. There was Reddit, our cycling page. What's hands down the best exercise for home? Why? That matters. Like that's you would go to Reddit to see what people are saying for a consumer product like that. And so this ties back to our GEO pyramid of our prioritized GEO framework of even for these consumer queries, like the big domains that are being cited for Peloton. Why? Why are they being cited? Because those are the domains that show up when you Google that term. And as we've said, these LLMs are grounding their search in Google. And so you can just use as kind of a hack, if you don't use Tracker or whatever AI search visibility, you could just look on Google. And if you look on Google and type like best trucking management software or whatever, like our client would do, you're not going to see Reddit and the New York Times, but you will for best exercise bike for home. You have a Wirecutter review, you have a Reddit thread. And so these things are very correlated. And that's why tier 1 and tier 2 of our pyramid is either have your own content ranking in Google for the terms that matter, or be mentioned in the other things, in the other pieces that are ranking. And as Benji said in our last video, using that example in Tracker, this would be an example. If you are Peloton, you don't need to do general purpose Reddit work. You can literally decide what topics matter, best exercise bike for home. And you can see, this is the exact Reddit thread that's being cited. Or whatever. For this one, it doesn't actually show up. But this is the exact thread that's being cited. And then go and get mentioned in that thread. And that's more targeted. So the last thing that I don't have a visual for in this episode, but is in the article, and the article goes into a lot more careful detail around this, is we even looked at this we categorized these prompts as bottom of funnel, what we called mid funnel. So bottom of funnel was like pure, no question, it's a prompt where people are literally asking like, what exercise bike should I use, or what blah, blah, blah software should I use? Mid funnel was like something related, a query that was related to products, but it wasn't like, what product should I use? It was like, what features are important when someone is doing this, that, and the other. And then top of funnel was just like general purpose questions that were not product related. Actually, this 86% to 14%, Benji, had very little correlation to bottom, mid, and top. I think there was like slightly more general sites for top of funnel, like how to or general informational prompts and queries, but it was like barely more. So it was still largely like 80% plus, whether it be top
Yeah,
of
I mean,
funnel.
it actually just makes sense. If your job as the LLM is to find the best information to answer a question, are you going to go to large generic sites, or are you going to go to very specific ones that
Right,
have detailed information about
right.
whatever topic you're searching?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like the LLMs are actually smart enough to know, oh, it's asking about some niche B2B thing in trucking software. Like, I'm gonna go Google that. Oh, that's what I was showing that Peloton thing for, is they're going and Google, the LLM is Googling it. Like, one, it's smart enough to know what sites to look at. It's not looking at New York Times, Wirecutter, Wikipedia, and YouTube for some niche B2B software thing. But also it's Googling it. And Google's telling it, like, oh wait, here's the results. And it's trucking specific sites. And that seems to be not just for bottom of funnel, like even these informational queries, what we're calling top of funnel prompts, it still held.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense to me, at least.
Yeah, this is a shorter episode. That's what we have. You can read the full article. But again, just to emphasize and close on a tactical and actionable piece of advice, it means how do you implement this for like getting AI visibility for your brand is, again, you decide what topics and prompts matter and you look at it. If you don't use software like AI visibility software, whether it be Tracker or anything else, just do it manually. Like literally go into ChatGPT or go into Google AI overviews, like Google it, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever, Gemini, and then write down in a spreadsheet what domains are being cited and just think about it and talk about it as a marketing department or team and look at it. And you should be able to see this and then say, okay, if we're going to do some kind of PR outreach, we're going to outreach to these specific domains because they're being cited, not just random stuff that like people on LinkedIn are saying. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. You can also get the audio only versions of these shows wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow us at growandconvert.com/newsletter for any articles and updates for when these videos come out.